What if the very person meant to uphold justice broke it themselves? A stiff judge imposes a fine on a black woman for wearing a simple cross, thinking of it as yet another case. Little does the judge know that it is not just an ordinary defendant, he's a legal genius. The unparalleled twist in the courtroom reveals secrets that hold the potential to ruin the judge's career. Only time would tell if justice will triumph or corruption will prevail. So hang around for a thrilling story about twists, courage, and certainly the catch-all ending. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. The great oaken doors of Judge Raymond Caldwell's courtroom swung wide, while a bailiff's voice echoed through the tense air. Case number 23-1047, State of Louisiana versus Naomi Carter. There was a hush over the entire audience as Naomi Carter, poised black, a woman in her early 30s, walked toward the defendant's table. Naturally, she moved with quiet confidence, deep brown eyes surveying the crowd, as if memorizing every face. A simple silver cross hung from her neck, catching the harsh glow of fluorescent lights above. Judge Caldwell was as good as disapproving when he peered over his glasses with barely concealed disdain to read the thin-rimmed oval portion of the eyeglass lens. Miss Carter, you are charged with contempt of court. You were instructed to remove that religious symbol before entering this courtroom. And yet, here you are. Do you deny this defiance? Naomi smiled slightly, with lips that were not playful at all. Your Honor, I am quite familiar with said instruction. However, I respectfully decline. My cross is not merely a decoration, it is an extension of my faith, which is protected by my constitutional rights. Murmurs and quiet muttering ran through the crowd, with some heads nodding slightly to indicate agreement and others glancing sideways at one another. The jaw of Judge Caldwell tightened. The rules of this courtroom cannot be up for debate. You are in contempt. I hereby fine you $5,000. Gasps went around. Naomi, however, didn't budge. Instead, she rummaged through her purse and produced a crisp check and put it on the table. I expected this, Your Honor. That is a check for the court, but I believe you will soon regret cashing it. Is that a threat, Miss Carter? Not at all, she said smoothly. Just a prediction. The judge's anger intensified. I don't have time for games. Bailiff, bring up the next matter. But before the bailiff could proceed, Naomi did something that froze everyone. She walked around that defense table and sat down in the attorney's chair. Judge Caldwell's brow knotted. What the hell do you think you are doing? She folded her hands and faced him directly. Representing myself. The scoff from the judge was immediate. You aren't even a lawyer. Naomi chuckled. That's where you got it wrong, Your Honor. I am a fully licensed attorney with degrees from Yale and Howard, and I intend to challenge this fine on constitutional grounds. In fact, I'm filing a motion to have this entire proceeding dismissed as a violation of my First Amendment rights. All broke loose in the courtroom. Order! Caldwell roared, banging down his gavel and staring at Naomi through a flushed face. Then how come you didn't say you're an attorney? If you're one. Naomi leaned forward. Because I wanted to see if you'd make a mistake, and you did. You ruled against me before allowing me proper legal representation. That alone is grounds for an appeal. But it gets worse. Caldwell's features darkened. Worse? Naomi pushed a folder toward the table. You see, Your Honor, I took the liberty of researching your past rulings, and I found something interesting. You have repeatedly ruled against black defendants in religious expression cases while granting leniency to others. There was deathly silence in the room. A bead of sweat appeared on Caldwell's temple. That's ridiculous, Naomi beamed. It is, because I also have a complaint drafted for the Judicial Ethics Committee detailing these inconsistencies. It would be quite a scandal, wouldn't it? A sitting judge exposed for religious and racial bias? Caldwell's hands were clenched tightly over his gavel. For the first time in his career, he looked genuinely rattled. You're bluffing. Naomi merely slid another paper across the table. I have 20 plaintiffs ready to sign a class action suit. We can take this to federal court. Or you can drop this fine and save yourself the shame. Caldwell's gaze was cut into two over that pile of documents, and his breath came in what looked to Naomi like uneven gasps. Your move, Your Honor. The silence was oppressive in the room. The entire courtroom waited. Judge Caldwell looked over at the bailiff, then at the stenographer, then back at Naomi. His fingers twitched against the wood of his bench. Finally, the gavel came down. Fine dismissed. The room erupted in chatter. Naomi just smiled as she packed her belongings. A wise decision, Your Honor. I trust that in the future, all defendants will be treated equally in your courtroom. Without saying more, she turned around and walked straight to the door. People moved aside and gaped at her with a mixture of awe and wonder. Before she reached the doors, a young black law student in the gallery met her eyes. He stood frozen for a second, then shouted, "Miss Carter! How did you stay so calm? Weren't you scared?" Naomi hesitated, then, with a knowing smile, touched the cross at her neck. Fear has power, only if you let it. And I don't. And with that, she walked out, leaving behind a courtroom and a judge changed forever. Everybody talked about it. By the next morning, the headlines blared from newspapers and television screens about Black woman outsmarts judge after being fined for wearing a cross. Legal genius Naomi Carter turns the tables on biased judge. Judge Caldwell was thrown deeper into the scandal. Investigative journos dug into his past and came across a pattern of disturbing, discriminatory rulings. Former defendants, many of whom had been railroaded under his authority, came forward with stories eerily similar to Naomi's. And within weeks, the Judicial Ethics Committee announced that an investigation had opened against Caldwell. The embattled Caldwell issued a resignation statement on personal reasons. Of course, the world knew why he floated out the truth behind his resignation was too stinky for anyone to miss. As for Naomi, everything changed for her overnight. One evening, she got a buzz from her phone in her modest apartment in New Orleans, an unfamiliar number. "Hello," she answered. A deep voice responded, "Miss Carter, my name is Leonard Brooks, and I run a civil rights firm in D.C. We are watching your case, and we believe it's wasting your talents. How would you feel about joining us? We could use someone with your fire." Naomi hesitated. She hated forgoing against justice, but now there was a chance of doing it on a national scale. She looked at the cross around her neck, remembering that moment in that courtroom, the power of standing up and refusing to back down. Then, with a slow smile, she said, "When do I start?" Naomi found herself standing before the Supreme Court several months later, with her name attached to one of the foremost civil rights cases of the century. From being fined for wearing a cross, she had become now a herald of justice, having the voice that shapes the same laws attempting to repress her. And yes, standing in that courtroom prepared to battle, she said those same words to herself that she had all along. Fear has power, only if you let it. And I don't. Was Naomi's brave move in the courtroom justified? Or did the judge deserve more? Maybe he should have handled it differently. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy gripping stories with unexpected turns, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new video.